So forget that. Forget that. Forgot what I just said. Okay. So welcome back, everybody. My name is Daniel Gormali, or Danny Gormali. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Hometown Hero. I'm very privileged today to be joined by Tristan Cox. How you doing today, Tristan?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, Danny?
I'm doing brilliant, mate. Today we're going to discuss actually your game. I think some of your games. I think recently you won the Leamington Spa tournament. Very, very well done, Tristan.
Thank you.
Was that Leamington Spa Open, right?
Yeah, yeah. I came joint first with two other players.
And what was the prize money there?
I think in the end, I'm going to end up with a bit over 100 quid once it's split three ways, something like that.
Really?
Not sure. Yeah.
That's yeah. I mean, I was saying I was having a chat with somebody earlier. Actually, she's based in as a chess organizer, and she's based in sort of Manchester area. And I was saying how, back in the day, people could play weekend tournaments and make a profit from it, but nowadays everything you do gets eaten up by expenses. But I think you live locally, you're from that area, right?
Well, nowadays my parents live in Wales, so it's quite a mission for me to go to any tournaments at the moment. Yeah, it's a fortune in hotels and stuff like that.
Oh, so for the Leamington Spa, you stayed in the hotel or?
Yeah, yeah. Stayed in an Airbnb.
And what hotel? Because I think I played in Leamington Spa before. Was it in the same hotels before? What was the
It's an
venue?
Airbnb.
The venue was an Airbnb.
No, no, no. I mean, where I stayed, the
Oh,
the
right.
actual the venue was a college.
Oh, okay. And what have you got a game that you can show us, Tristan? Because I prattle on a lot. We'll talk about more other subjects in future, but we were really about the chess. I got a complaint earlier on my Facebook about how I prattle on for 10 minutes before I actually start any content. And people are like, this isn't what it says on the tin. He's just rattling on in his usual boring way. I was reading a book actually about just when I was about to get into something a bit quicker. As I was reading a book about David Bronstein by Jenna Sizonga. I'm going to do a review on that on the channel at some point. I met David Bronstein, and it was saying that it is true in a way that towards the end of his life, or even through his entire life, he was somebody who you could only take small doses of because he would really sort of like, be at you 24/7. So, I need to try and avoid doing that. But yeah, have you got this game? Maybe you could screen share. We could have a look at your game, Tristan.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Hold on.
Mm,
Let me just get back to the start. I just want to hide all the moves so I don't ruin it. Hold on.
sure, mate. Sure.
Share the screen. Okay, so I've just requested to share.
Okay, cool. Right. Um, right.
Okay, so that should be, yep. Okay, is that all good?
That's all good, mate. Yeah. Yeah, brilliant. So you were black in this game.
Yeah, yeah. So this was, I guess, the most interesting game. This was the last round game. So
Cool.
I'd messed up one game, so I was on 3 out of 4, and I knew I had to go for a win to try and catch up. If I had wanted to have a chance of catching up with the two guys in the lead. Um,
Right. Okay. So basically they had a quick draw in the last round or what?
yeah, I mean, I didn't know they were going to do that first, but I mean, yeah, they were both on three and a
Yeah.
half. So I thought, okay, they might draw out. So if I win, at least I've got hope.
So when did they actually draw? Did they draw fairly quickly or
Reasonably early on, but not straight away. They played a game for a little bit, and then it was kind of a little bit better for one side, but they didn't want to risk it or something like
so
that.
when you saw that was a draw, you were like happy days, now got a chance to be equal first, right?
Um, Ish, but I'd kind of messed up the position as well, so it was
Okay. Well,
a
let's
mix.
have a look, mate. Let's have a look. Because I noticed you posted a position on calculation earlier. A test on Facebook. Okay, was it from this game?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I didn't look at that position, so maybe you could test me and check
Sure.
my,
Yeah,
test
I
and
mean, I thought
present.
this was really instructive from like calculation and
Mm,
pragmatic points of view. So,
cool.
so, um, 1 second. Yeah, there we go. So I saw my opponent played the Trompowski, so I just played G6 was like a last minute decision.
Right. What
Uh,
was the name of your opponent, by the way, and what was his
uh,
rating?
Tom Carroll, I think he's like I know his ECF is
Yeah,
2275, but I don't
yeah.
know his FIDE.
I think his ECF maybe 22. Yeah, he's also
2275.
not bad at rapid play because I think I'm playing a tournament this weekend in Sheffield, and I think he's one of the top seeds as well, right?
Okay.
So he plays a fair amount. I think I played him before actually. I think I played him in a 4 NCL tournament. and I managed to win. But yeah, he's not a bad player. Okay, so
Sure. And I'd seen he played this system, which is like, I don't think it's amusingly, I played the system he played in the game in the morning in the same tournament. So I don't think it's bad, but I was also
mm,
very happy playing black. So I've studied it quite a bit, which is just this C3 kind of no theory setup that's quite popular.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
think,
very solid, right?
yeah, I think white gets an objective advantage, but I'm also like the position is complex enough. I don't really care. It's just whoever messes up, right?
Sure. D6. Yeah. Yeah, it feels
But
fairly innocuous from White's perspective, rather than trying to, I mean, I'm not an expert on these positions, but rather than trying to get like a big advantage, it's almost like you feel like welcome to the game, welcome to the game.
sure.
I wouldn't be too concerned as black here, is what I would.
I mean, this is one reason why I chose this variation last minute. So I was like, okay, even just with
Mm,
10 minutes to prepare it, there's not that much to know to get a reasonable game.
sure. E5 or
Um,
bishop G4 would be Canada. Oh no, it's White's move, so
yeah,
yeah,
so
maybe knight
D5.
E5 here, Tris, or knight B8.
Knight B8 is the theory that I knew from my prep. And then H3, E6. And the only move that I'd got in some prep from a course was C4.
That looks the most logical, yeah.
And then I think you meant to go like knight D7 to C5, maybe A5. And at some point, E takes D5, and black's supposed to be doing okay.
Right, right, right.
I only knew the outlines because I literally had like because it was one of those weekenders where everything's very quick, so I only had a
Oh, of
few
course. Yeah, I mean,
to
that's
check.
the thing about weekenders. I feel like almost I don't really like preparing anyway. So almost weekenders suit me when you've only got like 20 minutes to prepare. I'm just like boom, boom, right? I
Yeah, I
can't be
was really
bothered.
strict with myself. I was like, don't look at anything else. Just get a feel for this line just
Mm,
vaguely, and that'll do.
exactly. I think
And if you
people can
play
try to
something else,
prepare for.
well,
Sorry, yeah.
that's just,
I was just going to say, I think people can try to prepare for too. It's good advice you're giving there because people can try to prepare for too much, whereas you're better off trying to prepare for maybe one line really well, and then you could use that in the future.
this is exactly what happened to me a couple of weeks ago because I played in the 4 NCL and I ended up somehow on board one in Division One and
Right.
I had to play three guys over 2400.
Wow.
And I just had a complete meltdown from trying to prepare for all three of them. Like, because two of them played like three different openings, and I was trying to just prepare everything before the game. And then when I got to the game, just everything was a mess in my head. So I was like, for this tournament, I was like, okay, I'm absolutely not making that mistake again.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. Okay. So what happened now?
So he didn't play C4. He took on E6, which I just didn't know, but I thought, okay, this
It
looks like
doesn't look very, very critical. It almost looks weird what White's done actually.
sure.
Because if you got a pawn on C3, I don't think you should give out the center that easily. The whole idea is he's played C3 to maintain the center, and then he's almost immediately given it away, which doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah, it feels like just a very typical. He's just trying to avoid all the theory and just play a position.
Mm. I mean,
Uh,
it's not bad for White, but it just seems
sure.
strange. I would have been reluctant to go D5 in the first place. But having gone D5, it just seems
Yeah,
strange
I
to
mean,
then
when
give
I
out the center.
I'd looked at this position a little bit from the white side and like just playing, rookie H3, then rookie one, then knight
Yeah,
BD2, something like this, or bishop C2 first sometimes.
because always when you got the pawns on E4 and D4, Tristan, you're controlling the center. But as soon as you push, um, you're giving black squares. So as soon as you go D5, you're giving up some control over E5 and
Yeah,
C5, right?
yeah. I mean, I felt very comfortable in this position when I looked at it. I just thought this,
Even C6 here looks, I mean, C6 looks fine for black.
sure.
C6, C4, and then just go bishop G4 or knight A6 or anything. And you're probably fine, right? But
Yeah, I
E6
wouldn't
is
be
fine
surprised.
as well, yeah.
So he played this, and then he played bishop G5, and this is where I had a big think because although I realized this wasn't so dangerous, but it's like I've only played the modern like one time before in my life, so I'm not like super familiar with the positions. And I thought, okay, I thought the one thing I could potentially imagine something happening with knight d4, maybe the f pawn coming forwards, or queen
Mm.
d2 and bishop h6, this kind of thing. So I thought,
But
okay, it makes sense just to flick in h6
I
to
think
force
I would just play that
it.
automatically.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even think about it. H6 is so automatic here because you don't want to allow queen D2 and then he's controlling
Sure.
H6 for you.
I mean, that's what I thought, but I took my time a bit because I was trying to figure out what's going on after this.
Right. See, maybe
Uh,
that's the difference because I mean, maybe I feel like I would say sometimes, actually, I was watching a funny video earlier by about chess Reddit about sorry to go off on a tangent, as I always
That's
do,
fine.
right? By who's that guy? Who's that obnoxious American GM? There's
Hans
quite a
Niemann.
few. Sorry,
Hans Niemann.
that doesn't really narrow it down, innit? When I say obnoxious American GM. No, he's actually very funny. This guy, he's kind of older. Ben
Ben
Feingold.
Feingold. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I
And
like his channel.
somebody,
It's quite entertaining.
yeah, he's a very funny guy, right? And he basically is doing this video, and someone's asking about Dvoretsky. He's playing this guy who's much lower rated, and he says, these people are like lower rated players. He said, well, they're not really people, right? Because he's basically, and he's saying, you do all this like Dvoretsky stuff where you're trying to give like mate and 40 or whatever, but really it's more about, seeing captures, checks, and all that kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? But I think
I
the
had
point,
this conversation, exact conversation earlier today with a friend who's around about
mm,
1500, 1600. And I was saying it's like a total myth that you need to find all these fancy combinations. It's about being really
exactly,
consistent with the simpler stuff.
exactly, exactly. But I think the point I would try and make is, I think like maybe professional players, they make more decisions automatically, right? And they're good, they're better at narrowing it down, like if that makes sense. So like,
Sure.
I would just play H6 more intuitively, and I would just get on with it. And then you got more time to worry about decisions later,
Sure.
if that
Yeah, I
makes
mean, I really
sense.
felt strongly it had to be the right move straight away. But just because this is totally new to me, I thought, okay,
Sure,
just
sure,
because
sure.
I just thought, okay, I didn't really believe it. I thought, am I weakening G6? Is there some reason I've got to be?
Yeah, yeah. But again, I think it comes down to memory. It's like memory. I've
Sure.
seen that kind of move before, so
Yeah,
just I
now I
just know
understand a
it's
lot more
fine.
that there's nothing to worry about.
Mm.
So,
So what
uh,
did you play now, Tristan?
so
Anyway,
now this is where I played a slightly strange move. I think it's fairly obvious. Knight
let me
C6.
guess what you play. Let me guess what you played.
Sure.
Queen C8,
No.
C5,
Yes.
C5. Oh, I got it right second time round. Just to prevent knight D4, right?
Yeah, no, I thought it's not. I mean, I've seen in some positions like it's not so the D6 pawn doesn't feel that bad. Like he's played it quite slowly. It's not easy to target. Maybe I get in D5 quite quickly.
Yeah, no,
Get
I mean
yes,
C5. I think that's a move that definitely be on most people's radar, or so something you consider. Obviously,
I
gives up the C4 squares, which is not
sure.
ideal, but
think
yeah,
this would have been I think this and then take and just C5 would have been very reasonable.
because of E5, then if he goes E5 though,
And so I haven't actually had a chance to analyze this yet, but I noticed that was something the computer suggested. So hold on. So there must be something here, or maybe I'm just talking rubbish.
maybe you go G5 first and then you go C5.
Yeah, that's weird. I'm sure I saw something very briefly where the computer had suggested something like this. Maybe I got it slightly wrong.
Okay, if you
Unless this,
take, I mean, it's taken Queen D4, but I'm not really believing it after EF6. It
yeah,
doesn't really feel right, yeah. Like you take on B2, but then they take on G7. This looks very dubious. Uh, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, unless you can go G5 and take on F6, you take back with a queen, and then you take on D4. But again, that feels very dubious, right?
yeah. It doesn't.
Not,
It's
not
definitely not.
really.
It's not human then.
But I think can't you just go G5 first, Tristan, instead of C5? G5 and then C5.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though you're weakening, well, you're kind of
I don't
weakening
think
yourself on
G5
the
is too
queen
big a
side.
problem, is it?
Nah.
Because I mean, even the computer was saying I might just instead of knight c6, I could just go G5 and knight H5 here. Apparently, that was
Yeah,
another thing.
computer just finds all these resources. It also doesn't worry about weakening the king side, like we're
Yeah, and it
like
just
we're
wanted to play this and just was saying
yeah,
this was totally fine. I have
yeah.
seen something like this, but I didn't seriously consider it during the game. So it's like, well, I'm just not familiar enough, and it seems a bit risky. I could be a total idiot if this is wrong.
Yeah, these kind of positional ideas are beyond our scope, it's beyond our reasoning, right?
But I thought at least C5, I can understand what I'm doing, what I'm aiming for.
Yeah, but also it's quite a dynamic. I think these kind of G6 setups. They're quite good for playing for the win. Anyway, I'm babbling on too much. Let's get to the critical moments, Trish.
So I played this bishop c2, which is a bit quiet. Now I think it definitely starts to swing in my favor.
Mm,
And
right.
then knight h5.
Okay.
So I think now he's got a few problems
Okay.
to
So
start
G5
with.
might be a positional idea, right?
Yeah, might be. Also, just coming into f4 is a possible idea as well.
What, even giving up the
Um,
piece?
I'm not. I was wondering whether there's queen takes f4, queen takes b2 ideas. I wasn't. I hadn't probably calculated.
Oh, wow.
My main idea was g5, but I just was wondering during the game if
Yeah,
that was a
yeah. I'd be slightly concerned about abandoning the king side like that.
sure.
But
No, I mean my main idea was to go g5, knight takes g3, obviously, and just mentioning that.
yeah.
So he played b3, and this is where I had a one of those typical kind of things that I'm sure happens to a lot of lower rated players where um, I went through a few different candidate lines and then kind of went back and ended up confusing myself about the differences between them and forgot about something I'd calculated earlier. Um,
Can I just say something?
sure.
Like B3, I'll be honest, it looks like a horrible move.
Yeah,
I really
absolutely.
hate
I was
that.
feeling
I
very
hate that
confident.
move. I hate that move. I mean, I would even just go knight D2 and just allow the knight into F4, right? Let's say he went knight D2 the last move.
Yeah.
Okay, there is G5, which I am concerned about, I must admit. G5, knight G3. But then his king becomes very safe. He can always tuck
I
it away
mean,
on
it's
H2.
actually, I had a discussion with you years ago about a structure like this
Mm,
where you were explaining to me that the structure wasn't so bad. So I was like thinking, oh, I shouldn't
really?
overestimate this.
You remember these conversations a lot better than I do. I can't even remember a conversation I had yesterday, let alone, 20 years
But it
ago,
made a
right?
really strong impression on me because I remember this structure looks like, if you just look at it
Ah,
superficially, it looks like such
yeah.
garbage. And
Actually,
I
I
was
probably
really
got it
impressed.
from as Fiddler kind of because Fiddler was saying something similar. I remember watching a post-mortem in the Bundesliga, and Fiddler was saying something like this: that when you get these double pawns, he was playing someone from Germany. I think we ended in a draw, and he said the same weekend I played Boris Spassky actually, and drew with Boris Spassky. R.I.P. Boris Spassky. But Peter's Fiddler and he was in some position where where you get double pawns, where you go like you got pawns on like F3, F3, F2, H2, and he's saying actually the White King is actually fairly safe. It might not be in this exact kind of thing, but yeah. Yeah, I think this is okay for White. Just B3, it just feels too slow. Like I say, I think it's not a
Sure.
decision that would really
Um,
I would ever
and so
take.
I'd seen ideas of like, I've got to be careful if I go G5 of him sacrificing on G5
Right.
because of
Yeah,
my knight
yeah,
on
that makes a
H5
lot
is
of
a little bit.
sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Knight C6 here, maybe.
Yeah, and I wanted to play knight C6, and then somehow I got scared of rook D1. But actually, I
Ah,
can just
right.
let white. I think I can just let white take it, but I didn't think clearly enough during the game.
Oh, there's a knight D4 trick, right? No.
Yeah, yeah. No, wait. I'm trying to remember what it was now, but because during the game I just dismissed it. I didn't try hard enough to think about whether I could
Maybe
temporarily.
maybe then you throw in a G5, right? Yeah, knight C6, rook D1. I mean, it's your move anyway, right?
Yeah,
So it does look a bit tricky, I must admit. Maybe G5 there. G5, but obviously, yeah, you're worried about the sack, which probably you should be. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I'd
yeah.
be
I mean,
slightly.
I very quickly looked, and the computer was saying this was good for black, but I didn't have any look
Yeah, I
in depth.
understand in the game it looks a bit scary, right?
Yeah,
Like knight G5 and then or bishop G5 and the queen comes in and say for example I line like bishop G5, H G5, queen G5, knight F6, then rook D6. Why is that not good for white? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I know this kind of thing is like difficult to work out.
Well, it's
I think
scary,
there might have
right?
been a move instead of G5. Um,
Ah, right.
there was some kind of super smart tactic that I literally looked at it just very, very, I've got this, I know you're not meant to, but I've got a bad habit sometimes, after a game, I'm really curious
Mm,
about certain
yeah, of
evaluations and
course. Knight E5 maybe is another candidate move. Or looks a bit weird. Like Queen
I think
C7.
actually there might be an idea of there's some move and then allowing rook takes d6 because then queen c7 and g5 and then g3.
Mm, mm. Maybe king
Rook
did it.
a8.
Yeah.
That was it.
A move that humans find impossible to find.
Exactly right. Yeah. I mean, that's not once you've seen it and have the idea maybe in your library of ideas, if you know what I mean. But if you just never seen that idea, it's not.
I've never heard of that library of ideas. Is that a saying?
Well, I just mean as in, you've built up like a
Yeah,
certain
yeah.
set of different techniques and ideas and stuff like that.
I read this book by Anand. It was mainly text, right? I think it was like Mind Master. And he says at some point, which I thought was really good advice, actually. Well, obviously, a lot of the book is really good advice, but he talks about having taking photographs of positions, opening positions. Yeah, because especially when you get older, your memory isn't as good as it was. So then you keep going back to that over the next few months, and you're building up this kind of like visual image of like, I know this position, I know the ideas behind
Sorry,
it. Sorry,
internet's terrible.
sorry.
Are you there, Danny?
Yeah, I'm here, mate. Yeah, yeah.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I heard what you just said about. There was also something. There was something really interesting. I remember Bronstein said in the his Zurich book. It was about the King's Indian, but very similar. You're saying always in these positions with this D6 pawn, you have to do something dynamic. You can't just defend it passively.
Mm,
So I guess
mm.
if you have the right mentality about that, then that could help and force you to
Apparently,
look at
apparently,
something.
apparently, he didn't write that. Somebody who said. Well, he
Go for it.
admitted himself. He claimed himself he didn't write it, but I think
Still
he was
good
just being
advice.
modest. I think he was just being modest. But yeah, still good. He knew a lot about the King's Indian. Like he was one of the pioneers. David Bronstein, he was a former world. For anyone who didn't know who he was a former world chess championship candidate. He lost to Mikhail Botvinnik in 1951, I believe. And he also wrote his famous book on 1953 candidates, which was won by Vasily Smyslov, and that was one of the most famous chess books of all time. David Bronstein, yeah. So it's a very good book I'm reading at the moment by Jenna Zizonko, who was friends with Bronstein, and he talked about how Bronstein, what Bronstein was like. But yeah, so what did you play here, Tristan?
So I'd had all these thoughts that I must be careful about G5, and obviously I've also got to look out for G4.
Mm,
But then I did this thing that sometimes happens to me. I get into a bit of a tangle. I go through variations and go back, and I suddenly thought, oh, what about D5? And then
yeah.
E5, and I can target the E pawn. But then I just bashed it out. And as soon as I played it, I realized, oh, hold on, now all those problems with G5 and G4.
Yeah, because you're activating the bishop, right?
Um, and I suddenly, yeah, it just came back to me all these thoughts I'd had, and I was like, how could I be so stupid? The computer actually comes up with it's actually better for black still, but you have to find a ridiculous move here. At
Okay,
least,
don't tell me
yeah,
what it is. So there's like, well, there's a ridiculous moves. It's probably not knight c6, right?
no,
Okay, the ridiculous move. So this is better for black, but you have to find a ridiculous move.
yeah, yeah. Otherwise, it's better for white. I think, like from human point of view, I think it's clearly like D5 was a blunder.
Yeah, this is interesting. Okay, the ridiculous move, I reckon, is bishop f5.
No,
It's not bishop f5. Okay, how many candidate moves? How many moves will I have to need before?
I mean the problem is even considering this move is so weird.
Is it a bishop move?
No,
It's not a bishop move, right? That narrows it down. Is it a knight move?
no.
It's not okay, so we narrowed it down. It's not a bishop move, it's not a knight move. Is it
It
a
makes
pawn
me feel a
move?
lot better about not seeing this move.
Is it a pawn move?
Yeah.
It's a pawn move. Wow. Okay, so we narrowed it down. I mean, hmm. I mean F5 just no, it can't be F5, surely. It can't be F5.
Close.
Or F6. No.
Yeah, there's some kind. There's wait. 1 second. I'm. Re- I've forgotten to.
Have you forgotten to include some moves?
Forgotten to. Sorry. Wait. 1 second. Let me just check. So I'm trying to do this. Yeah, yeah. It's in. Sorry, knight D7, which is what I
Right.
played.
Right.
G4 and here, there's a ridiculous move. I'm really sorry
Oh,
for that.
bloody hell. You've destroyed my whole attempt to look brilliant. So after G R, then you go F5 with the idea that if they take on H5, you go G5 and you get
You go
some
F6.
F6. Wow. Ah, with the idea that they take on H5, you take on E5 and then you hit an F3.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. That's
But I mean, I
crazy.
just didn't even consider F6. Like, it's just so, I don't know.
I think I might have done actually just because I'm quite tactical and I'm always looking for tricks, right?
Sure.
But okay, yeah, I agree. It looks like it's very hard to even consider it, right?
Yeah.
Because
No, once you've actually seen it, it makes a lot of sense. You start to see all the different things, but it was just that it didn't even enter my head as a candidate. So
because F6, if they go EF6, oh, then you go, what do you do after EF6? Then you take
can you just take back with the knight, maybe, or
a take out a knight, and if they take on G6, oh, then you have moves like
take
knight
on
G4.
four? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. F6 is just, yeah, fantastic. But I think it's much, yeah, much, because I wonder what you were talking about because why hasn't gone G4 yet? So there wasn't much
Yeah.
going on.
Sorry, I just had a bit of a meltdown there.
You've destroyed me there, Tris. I was about to look like a genius. Yeah, F6 is yeah. Yeah, I agree that's tough to so this position occurred in the game. What did you
Yeah.
play?
So I decided on this gamble of like knight. I thought knight takes e5, knight takes e5, bishop takes e. Sorry, wait. G5.
Right.
Sorry, G5, bishop takes G5,
Mm.
knight takes E5, knight takes E5, bishop takes E5. And I thought if he's greedy here with GH, bishop H3 is really not so clear.
Yeah,
I thought that was at least something I might catch him in. I thought there's some practical things going on there.
right.
Has the internet cut out again?
No, no, someone was saying message on Facebook. Hopefully it doesn't come up on the Zoom call.
Sorry about
Because
this.
if somebody sends you the wrong message,
So,
yeah,
I mean, there's actually quite a straightforward way for him to refute it, but I thought he could get a little bit greedy. So,
right.
like, take, take,
Yeah.
take here. And he could have just taken on H6.
H5. Oh, taking on H6. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because he's not material down here, is he? He's not. In fact, he's material up after he takes on H6, right?
Yeah, but he's also obviously a lot of material up after he takes on H5.
Yeah, yeah, but then you get a bishop pair, maybe a little bit, or is he? Oh, because you can't take on G5, right? Is this what happened?
Yeah, this is what happened. It turns out black's just totally okay here.
Really?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you go back a move, Tristan. So how much time did he have here, and how much time did he spend on taking on H5?
Oh, my
Your
internet's.
opponent.
Sorry, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, mate. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What was the last thing you said? Sorry, my internet
Sorry,
is.
sorry, that's all right, mate. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We've all got our issues, right? I've got multiple issues. But no, what I was saying was, how much time did he spend on taking on H5, and how much time did he have left?
He was definitely ahead on the clock. I can't remember exactly. And
Mm.
I was playing quite quickly because I kind of realized I was in trouble. I just try and bluff him and just hope that he played GH. And I thought, okay,
I must
intuitively.
admit, GH from our it looks good for white anyway. I must admit because Bishop H3, you think so what?
Yeah, I mean it's not obvious. I just thought at least I have practical chances. It turns out I do have
Yeah,
enough.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Because you're going to quickly go King H8, and then yeah, this is kind of thing that Leela does. It just loves attacking. It doesn't matter about the material. It's about who gets his attack in first, right?
sure. So he played one
Bishop
sec.
H6, King H8, I presume,
So he
right?
went F4.
Wow. So he was worried about Bishop H6, King H8, presumably, right? Was that like maybe some consideration?
Yeah, I think that could
Because
definitely
if
be
he
a
takes
problem.
your rook down, but then huge attack coming, like rook
It
G8
looked
and
it looked super scary. I mean, I have to be honest, I wasn't calculating too deeply because I was kind of like trying to play quickly and put pressure on him and like, well, if I'm
mm,
bust, I'm bust. If White has a
mm,
defense, no amount of thinking here is going to really help me. At least if I try and put some psychological pressure on him. Like I'd seen some of the key tactics, but I didn't try too hard to. I thought if white has some random defense, then fair enough.
Mm, mm.
But this did seem something like this seemed
Yeah,
like it
I
was
would
scary.
feel uncomfortable here as well. I feel like you got no attack and you got no development. Yeah, you rook up, but like, how do you actually stop the attack? Like, maybe F4 is a move because then at least when you go check, you can go to H2. I don't know, but it feels ridiculously loose,
Yeah.
So I
Yeah, I
don't
mean, maybe
know.
I've got Queen F6 to H4 there and hitting the F pawn as well or something,
Exactly,
different
exactly.
ideas.
In a way, it
So,
reminds me of that game. Sorry to interrupt. It reminds me of that
no,
game I lost in Spain. Where I think I showed that on Facebook against Renier Castellanos, and there was some moment where I could just sack a piece for one pawn. But the crucial thing is it opens up the white king, and that was more important than other considerations. You
I
know?
think, yeah, yeah. Also, I think the computer, I don't want to get the wrong move again. Yeah, here, Queen E3 was about equal, apparently, for what it's
Okay.
worth.
Yeah, yeah.
I just about get enough with taking on F1 at some point and stuff.
Mm,
I think,
mm.
hold on, let me just check. So Queen E6, Bishop H4, and then take on F1, and somehow this is.
These are all like computer variations are so silly. They just make no sense, right?
Well, Queen
Like all
E6
this
did.
Queen E6, Queen G4, and you have to go back to H4, and you have to go Queen E3. It just there's no logic to any of this, is there really? Well, I suppose Queen E3 is logical in a way because it's activating.
Yeah.
He's activating.
I mean, F4 is very kind of natural as well, just trying to block off some lines and give some space around his king,
Yeah.
right?
So what did you play now?
So Queen E6 is
Very
obvious.
nice.
And
Very
I'd
nice.
seen he's obviously he has to play F5, I think.
Mm.
I don't see what else he does. Interesting, the computer says that actually that White's already close to lost here.
Wow.
Or it's like it's a lot. It's like over -1 by now, well
Wow.
over.
I think he's just too far behind in development, right?
Yeah. So Queen D6. So this was where I think he totally missed what I play here. I think he'd missed the key sequence.
Okay. Well, I mean, one move that would be on my radar would be just to play King H8 again,
Yeah, I
but
mean, intuitively, I thought that has to be the move. Like, there's just nothing else that makes sense, right?
yeah, yeah.
It's not like I spoke to a few people about this and say, oh, it's a difficult move to find. I'm like, it might be difficult to calculate objectively, but just to say practically, well, you'd so much material down. The only
I
way
think
to
King H8, I think
default,
is to me at least would be obvious, right?
yeah.
Because I love positions where my opponent's got no attack, but I've got all the initiative, I've got all the attack, because
But the
now
question is, what actually happens after King H8, Bishop takes F8?
then Rook takes.
That doesn't work, I don't think. But
Really?
there's something more spectacular there.
Oh, maybe Bishop H2 and Queen G3 or something.
Nearly, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, maybe Bishop H2, Bishop G2, Queen G3, Queen H3.
Not quite either. This is not Bishop H2.
It's not. Oh, it's Bishop D4 check,
Yeah, yeah.
and then King H1, and then Queen G3, and it's splat. All right.
Yeah, it goes like it's still not. There's still something that he had to have seen from a distance against the best defense, though, because plays quite a clever idea of to block the G file off and then go back to D2.
Right. So here I need to find a win.
I mean, it's not
Okay.
too difficult when you get here, but I think
Mm,
not so easy from a distance.
okay. So what are my candidate moves here? I'm thinking about Bishop E3 as a move, but then he's got maybe Bishop D6. Uh, Bishop F1, he can take on D4. That doesn't look so clear. There's Queen H4 is an option, but again, he's got moves like Bishop E7. I don't know, Tristan. Put me out of my misery.
Bishop takes F1, C takes D4, Rook E8.
Ah, right. Okay, yeah. The standard stuff, right? Yeah, yeah. In a way, yeah. Yeah. And if knight C3, then wow, wow. That's lovely. Queen
It's
E2,
just
and then
unlucky that even Rook G1 doesn't work because Bishop F3 is mate.
and
And
if
then
you take, then you're
everything's
just creating
stopping.
chaos, like you check and take and too much material, right?
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
just.
that's very nice. That's actually very nice. That whole idea, concept is very nice. Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
but I thought what was interesting to me, I mean,
Do you think
I
you'd
think,
have found that if you'd done all that, though? Because that's quite tricky to find all that, right? Like rookie eight, rookie two, and
I mean,
kind of
yeah, I was
obvious,
kind of
but
forced to find it, right? I mean, it's
mm.
kind of a lot easier when you kind of know that a lot of other moves are just complete. They're just going to lose. So you've got to find something.
So why is it Rook F8? Is that not good, not even a draw then after Rook F8? Instead of Bishop, let's say instead of Bishop D4. Let's say I
Oh,
don't
so
go Bishop
then Bishop
D4 and I
D4.
just go Rook F8. Why is that not good?
Good question.
Is that not good for black? I'm
Um,
not sure if this Zoom call ends at like 8 or we can just carry on, but because it's like I paid for an account earlier, so I'm hoping that we would just we
yeah,
don't.
I'm really
I mean,
not
obviously,
sure
I
myself. It
should
still looks
mention as
scary, right?
well.
It's easy with the computer, but
Yeah, I should mention as well that Tristan's available for coaching. Shall I leave your details below, Tristan? Like, are you there? Hello?
hey, sorry, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just
Just his internet connection is not very good, but he is available for coaching. Is that right, Tristan?
yeah, yeah, I am.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just hope that he's got a better connection by the time he
It's
starts.
just because I'm in Wales at the moment with my family. So
Yeah, yeah. Nice. What part of Wales are they at?
it's a little village called Treganon, which is about an hour from Shrewsbury.
Is that like inland, right? That's not near the coast.
Yeah, inland. Yeah.
Is it near like a river? Like there's like I know there's like is it Hay on the Wye or so like areas like that?
Airway is a little bit
Wye,
far away, I think. I'm not entirely sure. I've been there a few times, but
right. Is it southern Wales that you're in or like northern Wales?
mid.
Mid, right, mid. That's what they say about me, that I'm a mid. At best, at best. Both at chess and in other aspects. But yeah, I'd say Rook F8. It feels like even this I would like
So
my
yeah, I agree. This
chances.
position still looks scary, right, for a human.
Yeah, I mean, okay, maybe computers
Oh,
defend
not
against
again.
me, but I feel but it's true that if you ever go Queen F6, Queen H4, he's always got this Queen H6 check idea, which is kind of annoying.
What does White actually play here?
Maybe King H1.
Yeah.
Because if Rook G8, just Rook G1.
Yes. Yeah, 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 yeah.
And so you could take on F1, but then you lose an attacking piece. And then he takes back, and then he's quickly going to go knight D2. So
Yeah.
if he doesn't get checkmated, you might just lose.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I don't know. Like Bishop F1, Queen F1, Rook G8, threatening Queen F6, Knight D2, Queen F6, but then maybe Queen H4. There's also Bishop C3 ideas you have sometimes, Bishop C3, but he always has Rook D1. So yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. Yeah. So I'm a bit hyper, probably too much caffeine.
Norris.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tristan. But I think this whole. So what did he do anyway? What did he play?
So he played. We had that line with Rookie too. That was what actually happened in the game.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. This all
Wow.
happened.
Oh, so I was slagging you off, saying you'll never find this.
No,
It's
no.
just
This
as
is
well
what I
you.
actually found in the game.
It's just as well he didn't actually play these moves because you would never would have found it, but actually you found it anyway. Oh, but he didn't throw in queen check first. He just did right.
Sorry, no,
Okay.
no, no. He did. He did. He did. Sorry. That's why
Oh,
because we were just discussing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hold on. Let me get to the Queen H6 here, King G8, Queen D2. No, I found all of this, but my point was, although they're kind of spectacular moves, it's also like I'm in a position where I know no ordinary move's going to work.
No, no, exactly. You're going to lose if you don't find this, right?
And I just decided, like, okay, I've just got to be.
Mm.
I thought the main thing was like psychological. Just be really confident about him. Don't let him think that I've got any doubt in my mind, and just like, oh, I'm just smashing him off the board. I mean, I realized around here that I definitely was, but I mean, back here, I was still like, I thought it looks very, very promising, but I was also like, well, I wouldn't be surprised if there was just some random move that just happens to defend. It's just so
Yeah,
sharp.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I thought
Definitely
there's no
100.
point stressing about that.
Yeah, 100%. But he is one move away from checkmate, so it's not like
Yeah,
he's got that much to play with, right?
yeah,
He's only one move away from checkmate there. So you
yeah.
did
This
all
happened,
this.
and then I just hoovered everything. He played. Hold on, it went bishop takes c5, b6, and then queen takes c2, and I just hoovered everything.
Wow. So you won the game. You must have been delighted, right?
Yeah, yeah. Very happy to finish like
So
that.
was would you say was one of your best ever games, if not your best, or certainly the final combination was
Not
amazing?
my best ever game in terms of overall quality and the rating of the opponent, but yeah, it was definitely at least it was one of the most fun games I've ever had. And like to find that sequence was
So
I was
Tristan,
happy.
you said to me earlier that you might be starting your own YouTube channel soon as well. You could be a competitor to the great Gormally with his amazing 1,000 subscribers after doing 3,000 videos, right? It's
I
quite
don't think.
hard YouTube
Yeah,
now. I think it's quite hard
yeah.
because there's so many people trying the same. I think
I mean, I'm not really doing it in terms of I want to get tons of viewers. I just want to have something that I can refer people to because I live in Vietnam. So
exactly,
I'm not going around
exactly.
tournaments to socialize with people. So I just want parents to be able to have, or prospective students just to have some videos they can watch to get an idea of what I like,
Mm, mm.
that kind of thing.
So currently you're based in Vietnam,
Yeah,
and
Hanoi.
that's been the case for several years, right?
Yeah, I've been there for 15 years now.
And you live in the north. I think I remember you
No,
saying you live
north
in
in
the north,
Hanoi.
which is like the communist area, right?
Well, it's all communist, but yeah,
It's
that's
all
the like
communist,
the
the
heart
heart
of
of
it.
communist. But what is that like? Is that nice to live there or not really?
I wouldn't use the word nice. I mean, it's to me now. I've been there 15 years. It's like a proper marriage, like a love hate thing. It's
Mm.
like the thing for me is it never gets boring, which is for me is the main thing. I just hate being bored, and it's like it's just a really very different, unique, crazy place.
I agree with you. I mean, like I started playing these Spanish tournaments, and the thing is, when I'm at home, I do get bored a lot, and I'm like, I'm looking for these jobs, and I'm doing these courses or whatever, college course, that I did recently, and I dropped out of, but um, looking to improve my life. But a lot of time I'm bored, and but when I play tournaments, it gives me a focus,
Sure.
because I feel depressed a lot of the time when I'm at home. I'll be honest with you, and
Yeah, I mean, I felt that way when I was living in England. I wasn't very happy and wanted
yeah,
to.
yeah,
So,
especially when you live with the wrong people, right? Because
got no
me and
idea.
Tristan, sorry to interrupt you, but me and Tristan, we shared a flat in Selly back in the day, and so he's one of the few people that have shared a house with Gormally, along with Simon Williams and John Naylor, R.I.P. John Naylor, and also Dale Bubb, who's another friend of ours. But yeah, there were good times at times. Obviously, at the end we fell out, but
No, but it's a fun time overall.
I think I've changed a lot since then. I mean, I must admit, I was borderline psychopathic back then, but
I wouldn't.
nowadays I'm more chilled, right? And but yeah, I could talk about that. Yeah, going away, playing foreign tournaments is like gives you a focus. It's probably the same for you when you're back in Vietnam. You got your coach, so you've helped people like Ameet as well, right?
Yeah,
Ameet
yeah.
Ghasi, who's
I've been
one of the
in second for quite a while now, for a few years.
yeah, because Ameet, I was saying this to somebody earlier, and he's actually probably one of the most talented players we have in this country in terms of, he won the British Rapid UK Rapid Play title when he was 15,
14. Yeah, something like yeah. I
14.
was there. That
Yeah,
tournament was incredible.
yeah. He told me about that recently at the UK Rapid, which was in that was in Reading, which neither of us won. Sorry, in Peterborough, that tournament was, which neither of us won. Although we were up there, we were competitive. But he told me that I beat him in round seven in that tournament, and but he ended up winning the tournament. I thought, of all these tournaments I've blown over the years, and it's just like I'm always the bridesmaid, someone else is the bride, right? And but yeah, it's amazing. You have these achievements in chess, and you think, they're always going to keep going, but actually they don't. They don't always. You think like your window for success is actually not as wide as you think. And I think actually having won that tournament, Tristan, I would say to you, kick on, mate, and try and. That was a good game actually that you won. So
Yeah.
what's your like main ambition?
To be honest, I mean, I'm focusing way more on coaching now because I'm doing
Mm,
second work for a few players, which takes
mm,
up a lot of time and energy. Also, being in Vietnam, it's quite difficult to just play as much as I'd like to anyway. Um, but I
sure.
mean, I guess I'd like to just get up to something like 2200, something like that. So my FIDE dropped a lot over the last 2 years. So I'd like to get that back up and
Yeah,
higher
I
than
think
it.
it's hard now because there's so
Yeah,
many players. Like, I'm trying to get
and
to
standard
sort of.
is
I mean,
really
I'm trying to get to say 2,500. And I've looked at some of the other British players. Obviously, I looked at people like Amy and Daniel Fernandez, who are higher rated than me. And Shreyas is probably going to be 2600 in the
I mean,
future.
that's the one good thing I'd
Mm.
say about Amit is he's really come to terms with the fact that how the game has changed, and he's like really trying to make the effort now to adapt, which I think a lot of players haven't really done or haven't come to terms with.
What do you
Like
mean?
just
What do you mean
so
exactly?
for just how much the standard of the game has changed and the way people are using computers a lot more. I understand it's
Yeah.
really easy to have this kind of anti-computer attitude and like talking about it ruining the game and all these kind of different philosophical arguments. But the brute fact is, if you want to do well at his kind of level, I think you've just got to be absolutely going nuts at this stuff because that's what a lot of the other
What do you mean
ambitious,
by going nuts at this? You mean going
like being
nuts
able
on the
to play different
preparation?
openings, knowing a lot of theory, working hard with the computer.
I must admit, though, I feel like when I played that Spanish tournament, uh, we got that position which was sharp and difficult. And I think what actually the reason I screwed up was because I'm not used to working with I'm not used to like using my own brain. I've become almost too dependent on the computer a lot of the time, so I can't do my own analysis. It's almost like I'll finish a game and I'll do like a brief examination, or I might have a brief post-mortem with the opponent, and then you look with the engine, and that way you don't really get better. I think chess is a problem solving exercise. I'd agree with you in the sense that yeah, you've got to be like forward looking, right? Um, and there are a lot of players who are basically stuck wherever their career was stuck, right? And they can't move forward from that, and they're like, why am I not getting any better? But I think Amit was just a very good player, full stop.
Yeah, I mean, he's a particularly lucky. Well, no, lucky is the wrong word, but I mean, in terms of what his skill set is into what's happened, he's so
Mm,
just naturally talented that he was kind of
yeah,
getting
that's
away
it.
with it for a long time just by playing
Yeah,
whatever
I
it needed.
mean, people talk about Luke Shane being the strongest amateur, or they talked about him for years as being the strongest amateur player. Although I do think that he was, for long periods where people thought he was an amateur, was actually still, fully invested in chess. But Amit as well. Obviously, don't get me wrong. I mean, Amit as well. Like people didn't give enough credit because he had a full-time job and
Yeah,
to actually people like Roberson as well, right? I mean, they're bloody strong. Marcus Harvey, considering they don't do. I'm doing chess full time, and these guys are like at least level with me, maybe above me. What excuse do I have? Like none. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, these guys who, chess for them has been a huge part of their lives, right? It's not like they do chess. Yeah, anyone who's played at that level, at some point in your life, you had to be really invested in the chess, right?
sure.
Maybe as a junior or at some point you were like really focused on chess, and that's what elevated you to that level. But still, it is an impressive achievement. So,
Is it working again?
um, but yeah, can I get better? Can you get better, Tristan? I'm sure we can, but obviously we're older now, so it's.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, we could end the call there, mate, because it's been
Sure.
a long. You've really helped me. Hopefully, we can do more of these calls in the future, mate. Maybe we could do a regular podcast where we basically slag off all the chess players.
I've got no idea what you mean. I don't slag off
Troll
anyone.
everybody. We could just do a troll cast. We just attack. We just pick a candidate every week to attack. It could be Nakamura, it could be Kramnik, could be Gormali, could be you know Keith. Keith, I always attack Keith on all my you know. No, we love Keith. Keith is another guy from the Midlands, by the way. Keith Arkle.
Yeah, it's like I grew up with like just watching Keith and Mark Hebden play. So
I mean, those guys are old school. They're gangsters. They're the original chess gangsters, really. I mean, they played chess for so many years. They're kind of an inspiration in a way. Uh, but yeah, I think that's the sort of question that I'm going to be faced with in a couple of years, or like a year, whether I want to do the seniors. Anyway, Tristan, yeah, it's been a
okay.
blast,
Yeah,
mate.
thanks for having me on. Really
Yeah,
enjoyed
thanks for
that.
showing us that game. It was a really great game. I'll leave shall I leave your email down below and people can contact you?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks. If anyone's
Yeah.
interested, they can look for Rock Troll School of Chess on Facebook.
Brilliant, mate.
That's my
Brilliant. Yeah, yeah.
that's my
Thanks a lot,
page.
mate.
Okay.
Thank you, mate.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been good. Okay,
Bye,
catch
Danny.
you later. Bye.
Bye.
I'll stop the recording.